I'm not to waste too much time today. We'll be talking about the topic before you say I do. So basically, this topic speaks to, areas that, what are the things that, one needs to consider before saying I do? Or what are the questions to ask? What are the areas to look out for? And on today, to just break that down and to hash it out with me, or with us today, is three wonderful people. Some of them you've heard from on the forum, spitting out such wisdom, and I'm just excited to learn from them this morning as well. So I'll start by introducing Mr. Kene, and I'll let them do the proper introduction themselves. We have three people joining us today as panelists: Mr. Kene, Mr. Akintunde, and Mrs. Yinka. And I'll hand it over to them. First to Mr. Kene to properly introduce himself to the house. Tell us who you are, what you do, yes, and what you expect to share with us today. Thank you. Over to you, Kene. No, we can hear you.
You're muted.
Oh,
It wasn't allowing me to unmute myself.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, good morning, MindSpec community. I guess that's the nomenclature for the group. It's a big pleasure for me to be here this morning. My name is Kenneth Diobi. So for short, Kenneth Diobi, because I now live in the UK. I relocated in 2019. So just so that they don't break their vocal cords, I just reduced it and shortened it to Kenneth Diobi. So it's Kenneth Diobi. I'm a healthcare marketer. Currently working in a biotech company here in the UK. While I was in Nigeria, I was working for a French multinational company. I love healthcare. I'm a Nigerian trained pharmacist. So I just feel like my general motivation around what I do is to motivate people, to empower people to live their best lives so that we all can have a better life. For me, I'm married. In June, it will be 2 years of bliss, 2 years of learning, 2 years of increase, 2 years of really experiencing a lot with maturing. And it's a journey that has no destination. So for me, I'm here to learn. I'm not a relationship expert in any way. So it's a conversation where I hope to learn from the group and also share my experience. I guess that's the bit of my introduction for now. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know what's wrong with the mute setting. I guess we'll take care of that in the background. Yes, so I'd like to hand it over to Akintunde. Mr. Akintunde, can you please introduce yourself to the house?
Hello, everyone. My name is Akintunde Uyemi. Thank you, Simi. It's good to be here. Everybody calls me Bishop. And I'm a program manager with Dell Technologies in Nigeria here. I've always believed on the concept of being successful. And my definition of success has always been around impacting the world with the investment of my personality. And I've always opened myself to being a learner. I'm not married, but in a way, I was speaking to someone yesterday and I had to tell the person that I'm glad that I'm not, because what I know now, I didn't know it then, and I think I would have killed my wife if I had married her then. I'm grateful to God to be here, and I'm also open to learning. Everything I speak from or I get to share thoughts on today would not, obviously not my experience, but are experiences that I've learned from and teachings I've been under, you know. And they say success is one who impacts the world with the investment of his personality. I'm always open to share my thoughts. I'm always open to share my thoughts. I'm always open to give my own view as situations so that I can also learn from others who have something more valuable than mine to bring home for me. So when I get married, it's going to be smooth sail. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And of course, I purposely reserved the last reservation for the only woman on the panel. She's a gorgeous lady. I can already see her picture. She's beaming. Unfortunately, she is at a location where she won't be able to share a video today, but no worries. She's here with herself. And yeah, just Sister Yinka, if you can please introduce.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. A wonderful Saturday morning. A great way to start the day. My name is Ella Yinka Adeleke. I'm a lawyer, corporate lawyer. I work in the aviation sector. I'm married. I've been married for 14 years. And I have 2 kids. I'm really happy to be here in this forum. Blessed. I was invited. For me, I believe information is life. It governs everything, and the want or lack of it could be very, very detrimental. And so, anywhere I find myself where we can share information and learn from each other, I think it's worth being there. And I hope we are able to take one or two things from one another this morning. And I hope to have a wonderful time.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Zinka. So just a few housekeeping before we move forward. In order to have a very smooth conversation, I would like to encourage our participants to please mute their mic if they're not speaking. If you're not speaking, your mic should remain muted. Until you're ready to speak, please do not unmute your mic. Thank you so much. And during the question and A sessions, we will encourage you to please raise your hand and wait to be called before you ask your questions. Also, the conversation never ends in the chat room. We can keep the conversations if you have any comments, any additional thoughts, or any questions that you don't want to read out, you don't want to say, out, or you want to be anonymous, you can send it to me privately and I'll read out the questions. So just a few house rules to keep this program organized. So it's going to be an exciting 1 hour, 45 minutes left. So let's get into it. I think before we start, I'm just curious to know, like, what are the weird things that you look for in a man or a woman that is like seriously weird? I'll tell you mine, and then we can go around the house. I have a weird thing where I look at a guy's nails. I don't know, somehow I feel like how you keep your nails tells me a lot about you. And that doesn't really mean that, your nails have to be perfectly trimmed or whatever. Like, I don't trim my nails. I don't take care of my nails. And that should tell you that, I just don't care about certain things. So, or I'm the least superficial person that you ever know. So I think it's weird. And I don't know if that's a very sound judgment, but I just look at the nails. And some people will say for guys about this, that's what are you looking at? So I want to go around a few people to ask what are the, I'm not talking about, oh, it has to be honest, it has to be holy, it has to be rich. I'm talking about really silly and weird things that you look out for in your partner. Who can I call now? So let's see. Toby Chuku, yes, over to you. Tell us, what weird thing do you look for in a guy?
Oh my God, Simi. I'm not on the no. A superficial obsession. I am into beards. I love it. And a well-kept hair as well. Those are like my two. Okay, this is really good kind of thing when I see a guy.
Cool. Bishop, are you submitting your application? How far now? Toby she's single, and you're also single, so and she likes beards and well-kept hair. But now, what are we going to do about the hair part? Yeah, so in that case, I guess the ball goes to Akintunde then. Akintunde, what do you look out for in what silly, weird, superficial thing do you look out for in a lady? Akintunde, are you there?
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I was having a problem with my muting. I think, well, I'm sure, not I think, her feet. I think the legs. I've always wanted my wife. I've always told myself that I'm going to invest in anklets.
Oh.
As in, it's an investment for me personally, because I want to be seeing those small dolphins, on her leg. When she's just passing, those things are shaking, and I'm telling myself that my money, my money, that kind of emotional satisfaction that comes with the fact that you look at your wife and you're telling her that, you're not thanking her because she did anything out of her. You're thanking her for marrying you because of those beautiful legs that she's just walking past with an anklet, with a nice anklet on. It's an obsession for me. I always, every girl I've always tried to date, I always ask that question: do you like anklets?
And what if she says no? Just like, go by.
I know I try to condition my thoughts, but I always look for ways to, put a dialogue to it that is not going to be cheap. I'm going to buy the expensive one. I just like the way it looks. I encountered one once, she was like, it's not biblically, and I'm like, it's also not biblically right for two people not to agree on things that will help their relationship grow. So at the end of the day, she succumbed. I bought it. It was a good relationship. Apparently, after we broke up, she removed it and returned it. So,
oh wow, she's a nice girl. She returns jewelry. Oh wow, that's a keeper, I guess. Yeah. So one last person. Let's see. I'm looking for someone. Many more. Hi, Miriam Alabi. Welcome to the show. Good morning. Do you want to tell us what your weird like is in a man?
Hi everyone. Okay, I've never really thought about this question though, but I think it will be coily hair.
Interesting.
It's just weird, but I really like the curly hair I get to play with, yeah.
Interesting. See, I'm not the only weird person here. Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope that kind of lightens up the room and, you know, get you thinking if you haven't really thought about it before. So yeah, my first, Crystal, I see your hand is up. Do you want to tell us your weird fantasy about guys?
Okay, my mic is on now.
Okay.
Yes, actually, it's very funny because the first thing that came to my mind was the belly. I am not looking for the six pack, but the round belly for me has always been a no-no. But thinking about it again, for me, the leg of the guys need to be bigger than mine. Yes.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so guys with smaller legs than mine, no, it's
Wow.
it's a little bit difficult.
Interesting, interesting. You see, the weirdest things that, you know, you can never think of. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm just going to go into the first question of the day. And that first question, I'll be asking all the panelists. So I'm going to start with the lady in mist. So Mrs. Yinka, excuse me. I want us to start from the very beginning. So, and I think before we can do justice to the topic of before you say I do, I think is first of all, answering that question, why do you need to say I do? Why do you need a life partner? Why can't I just be single all the days of my life? Like, out of that place now. Yes, so I hope nobody's child is in trouble. So please, temper justice with mercy. Now back to the show. So why do I need a life partner? I'm going to start with Sister Yinka. Can you please tell us why do you think the marriage institution is necessary and a good thing for anyone to consider?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I was trying to unmute. Well, I know this is not a Christian show, but you know, the Bible says that we should be, it's not good for man to be alone. And we know that we are naturally social animals. We can't survive alone. We can't survive in isolation. And so we are actually, we are born or we are built on relationship, different kinds of, whatever kind of relationship it is. When it comes to marriage, you know, from what we learned in the Bible and even in the society, it's the most intimate form of relationship that can exist in every form. Friendship, family, you know, it's the most intimate. And I think, I don't know, it's just a personal statement. I'm not saying, you know, sometimes I always believe marriage is not for everyone. It's not necessarily for it. So, you know, even the Bible, Paul said, if you can't be like I, you know, don't marry. So marriage is a decision. And its originator or the creator, it was meant for good. So it now depends, what are my reasons for wanting to marry? What are my reasons for trying to establish this kind of relationship with someone, you know, the opposite sex? Why do I want to get into this kind of committed so even legally committed relationship
Yeah.
with this person. Yes, because it's not just any kind of relationship where you can say, oh, I want to keep my distance. You're actually also legally bound to the person. So there are many, many facets to it. Why? What are my reasons? Is it because it's societally expected? I finished school now, I should be married? Is it because I feel lonely? Is it because I have needs and I feel this person can meet my needs? You know, what are the reasons? You know, the reasons really, you know, it matters. What are your reasons for getting into it? And then what are your motives? You know, what are your underlying reasons? You know, like I said, the motive also matters. And what is our perception about marriage? It also matters. You know, if you talk to different people have different perceptions about marriage.
Yeah.
Yes. So whatever perceptions we have about something determines how we would behave or how we will react. And then, of course, what's the level of maturity and exposure to, you know, to that institution? What knowledge do we have about marriage, about cohabiting with someone, about spirituality, about, you know, about even ourselves? How well do we know ourselves? Talk less of, you know, getting into that form of relationship with someone else. So, and how mature are we when we get into it? You know, some of us, if we knew what we knew now, maybe we wouldn't have taken the decisions we took. So one of the panelists was saying that he's happy that as at the time he didn't, you know, do it because there are certain things he knows now. And that happens to a lot of us. If we, you know, have the information we have now, if we had it then, maybe some of us wouldn't have taken the decisions we took, or maybe things wouldn't have turned out the way they turned. So, you know, I think that it's a beautiful thing. I've seen people in beautiful marriage. I've seen people who are genuinely happy. You know, some people say, oh, most people are not happy. Some people are genuinely happy, you know, at the end of the day. So, like I said, it depends on the motive. It depends on the mindset. It depends on so many factors. You know, let me pause there for now.
Thank you. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about. Thank you so much. And we'll get into the details very soon. Now I'd like to hand over to Kenneth. Some questions. I mean, why do we need a partner? Why get married?
Yeah, I think I like some of the comments Yinka made, and I strongly agree with the fact that not everybody needs to be married. So when you say, why do we need a life partner? The question is, do we really need a life partner? It's basically not for everybody, because most of the time, the knowledge about what this journey will entail, a lot of people are not aware of it. And it really causes a lot of challenges. So the life after the decision is worse off than the life before the decision. Anyways, just as psychologists have found, um, we are indeed social beings. We like to belong. We love to be loved. We love to be loved. It's a desire. It's a psychological need. And in the hierarchy of needs, belonging to somebody, loving somebody, and being loved is a strong desire that supersedes your desire to shelter and even eat. So it's, as a human being, you want to be in a relationship naturally. It's your wire. So people like Apostle Paul, the priest and all, it's a very strong sacrifice that they are not married. So for me, I think a life partner is very crucial. But the process of selecting that individual is very pivotal to the success of whatever will happen. So for me, I think we really need to have a life partner if we want to maximize our potential. We want to reach the peak of that, whatever calling we have for ourselves. Because the journey of marriage really refines you. It's like a seed that dies and grows back. That's what marriage does to you. It opens all of the perspective, the horizon. It brings down the barriers for you to be better, your best self. What I can tell you is it can be hard work. So for me, I just say it's a psychological need. It's far above even the basic need that man has. We desire to be loved. We desire to be in that relationship. So even if you've not found the person, somewhere deep down in you, you want to belong somebody. So for me, I just think the very critical thing is choosing that one you want. So just to summarize, we need a life partner so that throughout the journey of life, the good, the bad, the ugly, we have somebody that can support us through this journey. That's my thing. So I think the setting on the Zoom doesn't allow you to unmute yourself when you mute yourself. So I think whoever is responsible for this, you just make it open, let everybody mute themselves, and if you have to unmute, it's easy.
Thank you. I think Ronka is working on that. All right, I guess I would not unmute myself again just to avoid such scenarios again. So I continue over to you. Why do we need a partner? And I guess maybe also another thought that came to my head, which we can address later on, is that really a D1? That concept of D1, like this is the one person and all the over 6 billion people living on planet Earth that you have to get married to. But I guess those are like deep, deep conversations. So, just a thought that came to my head right now, but I continue over to you. Why do we need a life partner?
Thank you very much. I think my other two participants have answered most of the question, but I would sum it up in 3 things, majorly. 3 short, concise answers to questions. And as a Christian, I think I like to back my words with biblical scriptures. But I'm not going to read scriptures. I'm just going to tell you what it is. Number 1, because God has said it from the onset, it's not good for a man to be alone. He understood the concept of relationship, so he wanted to make an helpmeet for him. Genesis 2:18. After he gave man all the things that are necessary, he knew that at the end of the day, the man would need to retire, relax. So how would he enjoy being in existence? Someone had to be supportive. Someone had to be there, to be that cushion. And that cushion is the woman that came into existence. He now made it interrelated. So it made it interrelational such that you come home as a man. Let me give the old analogy of concept. You come home as a man, you're tired of everything. The woman is there for you. You get to talk about everything that happened. The relationship, growth, and everything starts building from that point. Number 2, because he understood the concept of, because he created divinity, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which had existed even before the existence of time. So he understood the concept of unity, and he wanted to make pockets of those things exist on the face of the earth. That was when he now said, okay, look, I've created both of you, but there has to be a legal binding with me as a third factor to be your witness. So that in front of me, you've told me that, okay, this person is going to be I'm going to take this person to be with me, and I'm going to start a unit that is going to expand my kingdom on earth. So, and that is established in Matthew 19, 4-6. And my third factor is, of course, the concept of togetherness has to be birthed. You need someone to learn with. You need someone to grow together with. You need someone to heal with. That is why even as individuals, even as young people, they will tell you, have an accountability partner, have this person, have that person. So the concept of now creating a life partner, the concept of now creating a life partner now ensures that you have that part of you, like someone that is like 2 people uniting under one purpose, one heart, one vision, one mission. So 2 of them come together, heal together, they share time and companionship together in the process. And through that, love becomes a thing. Take note, love has always existed. but the growth of love. You understand? Because love is at different levels. There's the eros, there's the filial, there's the likes of them. Every child of God has agape in him, but the physical love between a man and a woman needs to be built using the concept of the love they have naturally given to them in Christ. So through that, they share love and passion, and eventually translates into a lasting and loving relationship. But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, fine, why you need a life partner, but beyond a life partner, why did marriage even exist in the first place? We were listening to something. I was listening to something yesterday, and I had to watch it like 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And I reiterate that man's statement. He said, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. God created man in his own image, after his own likeness. So when 2 people were created, these both have to work together to conform to that image that God has created. So when God says, okay, the man should be the head of the home, that means your level of cultivation of the woman that God has given you has to be profound. You must ensure that you build yourself, you continually grow yourself into that image that God wants in marriage, that he created marriage for. The preservation of divine heritage, the choice of ensuring there's an order to which things exist in your family. You are a Christian, you are a child of God, your wife is a born again Christian to a child of God. You train, the Bible says, train your child in the way he should go. When he grows up, he will not depart from it. That kind of process, that ordination, that divine heritage needs to exist. So then the place of worship, your ability to bring yourself down and say, I surrender myself to you. That is one of the purpose. Your ability to say, okay, no matter how hot-headed you are, you can always calm the nerves and be like, this is my wife that God gave me. I cannot, either you want to look at it, either way you want to look at it, you worship your wife as a man, and the wife worships you too, because it is in that worship that you are both, there's that oneness, that bond that cannot be broken by any outsider, any situation and any circumstance, which enables you guys grow. Then, while that worship is going on, the spirit of oneness comes into play. Every woman doesn't want to hear the place of submission, but ladies misunderstand that the place of submission doesn't talk about you being a dumb person. It means that I have my values. I have what I stand for. I am a woman. I am beautiful. I am fine. I am lovely. But I have been betrothed to a man, and I have to do what God expects me to do in marriage, which is submitting to his authority. Of course, submitting to his authority. Someone once said, the man also has to be spiritually driven, because if you're not spiritually driven and the wife is spiritually, there will be chaos or anarchy in the house. So, but the man also, his job in love is sacrifice. He has to pour everything out. You understand? And just do everything one needs to. Then at the end of the day, priesthood. So basically, the purpose of marriage is what drives you having a life partner. And at the end of the day, you build that beautiful thing which you want, which is a long-lasting relationship.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bishop, for that contribution. Well, I guess when we hear that your nickname is Bishop, we now know why. So thank you. That was a very biblically insightful answer. Totally welcome. Here, we encourage people to bring their own personality and share from what they believe. And that is totally fine. If we have people who are non-Christians here, take it as another word of advice or contribution from someone. Once again, this is not a forum where we are, particularly like intentionally trying to force down certain religious views through anybody, but we encourage everyone to share their truth. And if that truth is biblical in its sense, we please share it very boldly, and we love that. So thank you so much, Bishop, for that contribution. So I want to go into the crust of the matter today, which is like, before you say I do. So I'm gonna ask. So the way this is going to work is that we're going to have a panel conversation for 30 minutes, which started at 5:30. So for the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about the next few questions, and then we'll have the Q&A question. So the second question is, what are the questions you should ask or areas that you should look into while dating or courting someone to determine marriage compatibility? That is, let me break down that question. When you're dating someone, or when you're courting someone, or even before you decide to date the person, if your intention is to get married, what are the things that you should ask yourself, or areas that you should look into to determine compatibility? Because I feel like this question is very crucial, because this is where I feel like a lot of us miss it. For those who don't know, I have been married before. I'm currently separated from my husband, and going through divorce. So when I ask this question, it's from a very personal and a very sort of like missionary kind of standpoint. I've made it my life mission to help people ask these questions, and to be more thorough and understand what marriage compatibility really means in its actual sense. And that's why I asked this question. So, and I know that we have a wealth of knowledge here. So I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm going to reiterate whatever the host have said at the end of the questions, just so that we can maybe dig a little bit deeper into certain key areas. So I think this time around, I would like for Bishop to go first. So what are the questions that we should ask, or areas that we should look at while dating someone to determine compatibility?
I'm going to take this question from my country manager, who just got divorced. And when I told him I wasn't married, he said 3 things are important. He said, never marry a woman who is not committed. And a commitment should not be to just you, because she can actually fake a commitment to you. A commitment to others, how she treats others, how she makes people feel around her, the way she gives a helping hand. He said, don't marry a woman that is not informed. Informed means, there are times you don't, in this day and age where everybody's trying to look for new things to do, you need somebody who is trying to push the boundaries beyond, this is what I know and this is me. Learning is a continuous process. You learn until the day you die. So then the third thing he said was, don't marry a woman that is not supportive. Now, support doesn't have to be monetary. Support can be anything that just brings joy back into a home where a man is trying to lead effectively from. So, but in all, I have told myself that I'm going to ask 6 questions, but those 6 questions have kids under them. But let me just sum it up. How do you envision family life? When our vision doesn't tally, my dear, will it work? If your financial plans, the truth is you don't have to be a saver or an investor like me. One of us just has to be that person. That's why it's important to do SWOT analysis of both parties. The guy has to do the SWOT of the woman. The woman has to do the SWOT of the man. So the strength of the man must be able to work on the weakness of the woman so that it can grow her into the woman she's supposed to become. That is where the job comes. You know, Miles Monroe used to say something about cultivating. You need to cultivate the woman you're with. The truth is, she might be a more sound person than you are in every way you can think of. But that part that makes her complete, at least to you, she doesn't have it. Your job is to bring yourself, submit yourself, let me use that word, to be able to teach her, cultivate her into that thing that you want her to become. Cultivate our weakness into a strength. Then, how do we stay connected? What is our love language? The 5 love languages are important. How do we connect it? Where's the vibe? Where's, the Americans will say, where's the mojo? Where's the mojo in this thing? When the vibe is not there, then what are we doing? Where is it missing? Do you really see yourself spending forever with me? I tell myself, I've dated girls that I've been introduced to girls that I just looked at the next 5 years. Do I see myself with this person? The moment I say no, I'm sorry, we can only be friends. Especially at this level I am. I can't go into such. Then, how do we handle boundaries with each other? I never knew that a woman always wanted the acquired time. But recent studies and people I've mingled with made me understand that she would always want her me time. And there's a new thing that I didn't know also existed, that men have man caves in their houses. So, there's that personal time that that is why you see a woman go as far as buy a man a PS5, because he knows that he goes out all day to kill himself with work and bring money home. He needs that play time, that boy man time and everything. So that being said, then how do you deal with body change and satisfy each other sexually in the long run? Oh, that part is important. Very, very important. For me, the motto of marriage is talking. You must talk till you drop. Keep talking. When there's no sexual balance, there's a problem. When you're married, when you do it, talk to the woman, ask questions. If she's having body changes, how can you help her to not make her feel bad? You understand? Someone said Secretary's transition. You can't. You must dig it, go. You must be all right.
I can't.
As guy man, your paro must show you. You understand? You must be on point in terms of steez and paro. You must be continuously romantic. If your foreplay was 10 minutes while you're married to your woman, you can, if she likes foreplay more, give her 15 minutes. I have been in a relationship that was supposed to lead to marriage. You understand? We never slept with each other, but the whole romance thing, I had to read books. That was where I understood the concept of date nights. You understand? I know. So it's different, it's unique. You just have to understand that body language, that thing about both of you, then how to satisfy each other sexually on the long run. So those are my 6 points in a nutshell.
Thank you. Before I move on to the next host, I have some follow-up questions for you there.
Okay.
You did say how, at the point where you said, how do you handle money? And you said something about grooming the woman. Is it just a one direction thing? Is there not a place for the man being groomed and modeled by the woman? Is it not a iron sharpen iron case where both partners are grooming themselves and modeling themselves. And then also, you spoke about sexual compatibility. And I'm like, okay, what if I'm trying to do it the right way, and waiting, well, the way that I feel that is right, and waiting until marriage, if I'm the type that wants to wait until our wedding night or days after, depending on how tired you are on your wedding night. So how do I know? How do I gauge this sexual compatibility, without actually exploring if I don't want to?
Okay. Let me start by the first question. I think people misunderstand one thing. When we talk about the fact that, okay, you teach a woman, you do this, you do that. Look, man and woman were created in God's image equally after God's likeness. God did not say one was better than the other, but in the institution of marriage and God-loving order, that is why he gave the man the job to be the head of the home. It does not mean that, and the head of the home is the servant leader, just the way Christ came to the world to be a servant leader over us. He is the groom, we are the bride. So in the midst of that, that means the sacrifice, the everything. And when they say a woman should be submissive, according to the scriptures, submission in the Bible is just saying that adaptability, your ability to know that I know myself, I know what I carry as an individual. But because of the order of things in marriage, because of the order of things in marriage, I am submitting my will to this person. That doesn't mean I don't have a say in that relationship. And people get to misunderstand, also forget the fact that love to a man is sacrifice, outright sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. The birth of relationship is from giving. Do you understand? You give everything. Let's sum it up. A man was born to be a mumu for a woman. If you don't want to believe me, check the scriptures. But I'm telling you the truth. The man was born to be a mumu for a woman. In this context of things. And it's not because he doesn't still have it. It's not because he's still not the head of the home. He's the love of the sacrificial love and the submissive love of a woman and the sacrificial love of a man and the submissive love of a woman. It becomes mixed together such that they are both drunk in love with each other, to the point that everything that they do, they know what to do, they know when to do it. The man is not afraid to leave the home, to travel unexpectedly because of work, because he knows that he has a backbone at home to be supportive, to be there for him or her. So it is give and take when it comes to that in terms of finance. The man might be the one who knows how to invest better. My former boss, her husband was a spendthrift. He doesn't care. He just spends it. He works for MasterCard. But the woman was the one who coordinated the family projects. The man just knew, this is what you have to bring. Oh, take. Hey, take. He just drops it. So it's not about the fact that, okay, it's not a tete-a-tete thing. We all need to understand our place in marriage. It's not because one person is better than the other. It is because one person was given a different assignment than the other. It does not mean that both assignments still don't clash. Submission is embedded in sacrifice. Do you understand me? So the man tentatively is also supposed to submit to the woman. He is a servant leader. That is what he was born to do. Like you said, iron sharpened iron. Both of you are deep, but your individual aspects become dead and embedded to each other. What if the man is not a servant leader? I think you should not marry a man who is not willing to adapt to you. I don't think you should be with someone who is not willing to bring himself down to your level and understand what you stand for. He has not done your SWOT analysis and like, okay, this is your weakness. Instead of building your weakness, he taps into it and destroys you with it. So, but going back to the question, both have to be together. Then in the terms of sexual compatibility, we don't have to sleep with each other. Look, that's why there are sexual books for marital people. You need to just read and learn. You don't have to get it perfect. Growth is an increase in size. So, and time is always a change agent, as long as the effort is put into play. Do you understand? So once you start with, yes, books. You can ask questions too. There are books. There's Kuma Sutra. Kuma Sutra exists. It's not for people who do porn. It's that's the harsh reality. You get married to someone who feels okay at some point. That's what you reignite the whole thing. You change things. You understand me? So I'm not. I'm just trying to be practical here, guys. So at the end of the day, it's like I said, I don't advise and I don't subscribe to sex before marriage. I take it that when you're married, sex is supposed to be enjoyed. So wherever there are butts in your sexual life, both of you work on it. Whatever herbs, whatever exercise, whatever things that are supposed to be done, you do it. That's why they are sexual therapists too. So I rest my case.
Thank you so much,
sums up.
Bishop. Yes, we're going to go to the Q&A section. It's looking like it's going to be hot. But before we go there, I want to turn it over to Kene. Kene, the question again is, what are the questions that we should ask and what are the areas that we should look into when determining compatibility for a life partner?
Yeah, thank you, Bishop, and his wonderful comments. Nice. For me, I like to say, can we ever determine compatibility? It's a big question because it's difficult to really ascertain if you're really compatible with anybody, to be honest. In reality, talking about my experience, you continue to find out that people are never really compatible. It just takes time and you have to work on it. So for me, I think there's no hard and fast rule to the questions to ask. It's subjective. It depends on the value of the individuals in question. So what are your values? Are you ganja smoking people? Then the question will be different. Are you people who are career people? The question will be different. Are you looking at becoming a minister in a church? The questions will definitely be different. So it's not a one size fits all. I must ask this question. It depends on your values. So it's your value that will drive the questions. And I believe that the questions should have been asked by observing. So it's not just by saying, Simi, do you like rice? Do you like dodo? I need to see it. I've been with you for a while. So some of this, I'm taking the questions without asking you. So, and that's why you don't need to jump into a relationship. There needs to be a period of observation. So observation will sort out a lot of some of the very personal questions you need to ask. For me, I'll tell you what some of the direct questions I had to ask. I'm AS. My genotype is AS. And I know that if I don't want to suffer in this life, I have to run away from AS. So if I see someone that I'm attracted to, I use a very clever way to just find out before so that I know whether I can forget that thought. So that's coming from a medical point of view. For me, personally, I like to talk about experience. I'm a career-driven guy. I believe that I'm supposed to be at echelon of my career path. I believe strongly in family. I believe in doing my bit for God and for people and living a healthy life. So this informed the kind of questions in quotes that I needed to ask. So definitely the kind of person, I cannot marry someone who is not a career woman. I don't need to ask, are you a career woman? I can see that you're a career woman. Church, I had some relationships in the past. that kind of cut me off from going to, I wasn't going to church. I wasn't paying my tithe because I was missing church. I didn't like that. So definitely that woman was not for me. So like I said in the beginning of my opening comments, it's your value. What are your values? You need to, if you don't know your values, I can bet you'll be Googling the question to ask and you'll be asking someone else this question. So you need to find out your value. What are your values? What is critical to you? Is it family? Is it building a career? Is it building a home? What is it that will inform? And you don't necessarily have to ask all of the questions. You ask by observing, and you don't have to jump into a relationship. But as time goes on, you have to communicate. And I can tell you, you can never get to the peak of communication. Myself with my wife, I can't even say we're up to 20%, even with the fact that I feel that we communicate nicely. I'm still seeing some incompatibility problems, but it's not a problem for us not to enjoy our marriage. We are really enjoying the marriage. So it's just to show that marriage, you have to die. You have to be like a seed that gives up yourself. You give up yourself. And this comes with informing yourself about what to expect. And I can tell you a lot of the things that I had in my mind about sex, and I'm telling you, you're not going to have all of that sex that you think that marriage is about. I can tell you that. It's not like you can't have a lot of sex, but that sex now becomes, it will take another layer on your priority list. When we are single, anything, someone touches you, but your body is so supercharged. When you get into marriage, the issues of life will put sex somewhere. Sex will be there, no doubt. It is not emphasized like how we used to when I was single. In the real scheme of things, your wife will be pregnant, your wife will have kids. It's stressful to be thinking of any style in this world. So what I want to say in summary, there's no hard and fast rule. What are your values? Those values, you need to prioritize them and ensure that the person that you want fits into some of it, not really all, because you have to also compromise. Be very certain about this person by first observing. It's not like someone introduced you and the next in 6 months you're in the altar. Observe, ask, learn by observation. Ensure that there is a dialogue. Because if I ask you, I can tell you what you want to hear. Someone asks me a question, definitely I know what the answer is, and I can see it. Does it mean that the person is right for me? It's a big no. So maybe it's a very, very extensive answer to this question. I tell you, we can write a big essay about this, but I'll first start with, and I'll summarize and close this. Ensure that you know what your values are. Be very certain what you don't want. Be sure that 1, 2, 3, I don't want it. No matter if this is the last man in the world, if he has 1, 2, 3, I must not marry this guy. Be very sure of those ones. Then you can also be sure to be flexible with some of the things that you like. You like the coily hair. Sometimes those things, your man does not have coily hair. You might not work like that. I always liked the flashy light-skinned girls. Those were the only girls I dated. But they were so wrong for me that I knew that if I want to marry someone that will live and be happy and not die young, I need to run away from this girl. It was just my own story. So please, identify your values, ask questions by observation, be very sure what you don't want, and those things every other thing will fall in place. That's my comments.
Thank you so much. And that is very profound. That is very, very profound. I'm posting the summary that I hear from what our guests, what they are saying in the comments. So, and that's just to save us time so that I don't have to repeat that. Thank you, Kenny. But I hear one thing that really stood out from what you said for me is values, knowing what your values are. Because I think that is like where a lot of people get it wrong. You don't like, first of all, understanding yourself. What are my values? What are my deal breakers? What are the things that I can compromise on? I think from what I hear, what resonates to me from what you're saying is that know yourself. Know yourself first before you can then know who is compatible with you. Thank you so much. Lastly, but not the least, before we go into question and answer, I would like to hear from Sister Yinka. Can you please share your thoughts about what questions or areas we should look into to determine compatibility?
Wow, I think my two panelists have, they've said a lot, and I want to borrow, from what Kenneth said. He's just said it all, values, and Bishop has said it. The Bible. I'm sorry, we are not. I know it's not a religious forum. You see, my husband is a divorce lawyer, and I've looked at divorce cases. I'm a lawyer too, and you see, like, what exactly is the reason for these people's divorce? I mean, you would expect things that are really out of this world. Some of them are really very flimsy. And these people were married, so they were in love at a point in time, so to say, at least maybe 70% of the time. So something happened along the line. And like Kenneth said, the issue of compatibility. Compatibility, people say, some people define it as, maybe he likes this, he doesn't like this. That's, for me, so over time and over experience and what older people have, compatibility is just the ability, this one moves back, this one pushes forward. That's just it. And it's still born out of love. Because in the first place, like the Bible says, love your wife. Everything is born out of love. Love is given. Love, the Bible says, love covereth a multitude of sins. It is still people disconnecting along the line. Because along the line, out of a lot of other people, maybe like I said, the reason why I said 70% was the matrix was because maybe there are still 30% that felt, there's nobody coming and they married the person. It's the truth. See, as I said, the underlying causes for marriage, what brings you together most of the time keeps you together or tears you apart. Because, for example, someone who marries out, like a guy to him saying, I'm telling him some men married out of divorce. And I said, explain to him, let me tell you, men that are not serious, men that philander. This girl comes, the girlfriend leaves, or there's a particular girl, and this girl, guys, the guy cheats, she's there. The guy does this, he's there. The guy who cheats her, he's there. Along the line, all the other girls have left, he marries out of default. It's time to marry. So yes, some men married out of default. Some men married out of, there's this is a good girl, I can control. People married for those reasons. Some people married, they were match made. So that's 30% we are talking about. Most of the time, those things don't work because the right values are not there. Sometimes it even works. It depends on how you can manage the situation. Because at the end of the day, you love each other, you marry. What is left is now management. So marriage is equal to work management. How do you manage each other? And it is in the mismanagement that you see divorce, that you see separation. That's what I've seen. I've seen divorces where I told her, tell me exactly. I don't see. Even those of us that are married, our cases are worse than this. So, you're wondering, it is mismanagement and miscommunication along the line. And like Kenneth said, communication doesn't stop. Communication is not just talking. Communication is everything, body language, the fights, the makeups, the relationship with other people, family, friends, the person's values, the person's disposition. Like Kenny and Bishop have said, it still depends on your values. I have seen people marry people that have nothing and they turn their lives around. And I have seen people, like I had a colleague one day and we're talking about, women in high, and he said, God, look at the useless person I married into my house. Obviously, that guy has no, she's useless. She does nothing. She achieves nothing. She's just, so your values matter. Your dispositions matter. And I also have a cousin, I look at her and I look at, so there's a set of cousins and they are brothers and sisters, and like 4 of them have divorced. And I look at her, she's not the nicest, she's not the best, she's not even the most, but you know what? She married a man that loves her. And when this man married her, she wasn't any career woman, anything. She wasn't anything. The guy was the career guy. And he chose her and he picked up and he said, she was teaching then. Stop teaching, whatever. If you see her now, if you see her pedigree now, marriage is what it is. The Bible says 2 become 1. Can 2 work together except they be agreed? She's she's an embodiment of success now. It still boils down to the love. The truth is, the decisions we made for ourselves before we married. I remember when I was in school, a friend of mine, you have these guys in class, those quiet, serious guys, those gentle guys at the back, and you had the club boys. And then we liked the club boys. So the guy was my friend, and he was a Christian. I'd go and tell him my problems and everything, with the club boys. And the guy told me one day, he said, look, it is people like us that you should actually be dating, because we share everything with you. I said, but oh no, we know ourselves, so we know our whatever. We already know we'll get our no. But that's the truth, the intimacy. So some of us married. What were our reasons? What were our values? What were the reasons we married people that we married? So the truth is, those connections may have been there, they may have not been there. So you marry, what happens along the line? You were in love when you got married. What happens along the line? What is it? If you really check it, it's not really maybe the job. Yes, some money is there, but at the end of the day, it's still the management between the two people. So like I said, there's no hard and fast rule. I have seen people who are born again Christians divorce. I have seen it, strong born again Christians. And I have seen people who are not born again Christians. I have even seen opposite Christian, Muslim, whatever. It still boils down to the communication and the love between. The Bible says, I still continue to say, love will cover a lot of things. Love will bring out the best in you. That is it. Along the line, people just stop communicating. When you stop communicating, you stop loving. That is just it. That is just, when you stop communicating, you stop loving. And the truth is, you see, what happens most of the time is that when people get married, it's either you are growing together or you are growing apart. Even when you are together, even in marriage, you see a lot of guys be like, is this his wife? And I see so much disparity. And I was telling, some of my, in church, and I said, go and check most of those things. Those guys, when they are moving up in their ladder, when they are moving up in their career, they don't carry the women along. Then you find out that the women are way down. Then they wake up one day and they're like, who did I marry? She's so lax in everything. She's so lax. You've got to put that's your response. Marriage is a responsibility. You've got to carry the person along. Those are the things you married. You married the person with those shortcomings. That's it. So say for the exceptional ones, the ones who don't even, I'm telling you that some people, they have no business in marriage. I have met guys that in this same Lagos, they sleep out of their house in a month, in 2 weeks, they are not in their house. Some people don't have any business in marriage. It doesn't have anything to do with the sex. It doesn't have anything to do with what the women have done or they have not done. Their values, they don't have it. There are some values that underline marriage. It's in the Bible, it's basic, even societal, it's there. So people don't even have it. So all these things we're talking about, if you have sex from today to tomorrow, if you cook from today to tomorrow, even if you give all you have from today to tomorrow, you may not get it. That's the honest truth. So like Kenneth said, before we say I do, those values, you must start checking it. Sometimes, we are emotional most of the time when we are dating. It's a time not to be too emotional. That's the truth. Because unfortunately, a lot of us get to do before we realize, it's a time, just keep checking every little thing. How is he with friends? How is he when he's hungry? How is he when he's angry? How is he when he's broke? How is he with money? Also for the man to the woman, I'm talking vice versa now. Those are the things you need to check. If you're someone that is driven, it still depends on how much you love the person. Maybe you try push the person, So all those things, there's no hard, see marriage, there's no hard and fast rule. Anything works if you're ready to make it work. So let me pause here.
Yeah, I have just one more question before we take the questions in the chat room. And that is, this is to Kenneth. Where's the place of emotions? Like this butterfly feeling, you meet a guy, before you, remember the topic is before you say I do. So before you get married or you meet a lady and, this is that. How is that place of emotion? How do you, because this values things that you guys are talking about, it just seems like so hardcore. Like, when you are so in love and so like, swept off your feet, you probably are not even able to see clearly. You know what I mean? Like you can't even see the person's fault. You make excuses for them, when they're saying something, it sounds a different way to you because of that emotion. So what's the place of emotions and how do you balance that?
Emotions, they will always play their parts. But if emotion is the only driving factor in the decision-making process, then I guess you should be able to fly. They throw you from a plane because you're just living in a dream man's land. So for me, I think emotion should play a big chunk of the decision making if you're still in secondary school or primary school, or but if you want to get married, I can bet you try and drive that emotion down to the least of the driving factor. You should use your heart, your head, and your mind. So for me, an emotion, it plays his role in almost everything about relationships. So not just choosing a partner. And that's why if you find out from people who talk about leadership, there must be, for you to be a good leader, you must be one that can lead yourself. And leading yourself means that you have control over your emotion. So, and that's why I like to talk to people about working on yourself before the time of marriage or even before you make a decision. So when you want to make a decision about marriage, if you have not made good decisions in every other aspect of your life, it will be difficult to make a good decision about marriage. I can bet you it's almost the same principle. If you want to choose a school, this, you want to choose a job, and yes, marriage is like the biggest decision you will make. But I can bet you, if you don't know how to make a decision with just simple things like I want to go to this place, this is how I want to go there. I want to choose, I have three options on the job career. Which one do I select? I can bet you, if you don't know how to choose and you're using emotion, this one has more salary, you will make the wrong choice when it comes to marriage. So you need to subdue yourself. You need to put the emotion down and bring to play that discussion we just had prior to this question, the value. So your head must be there, in quotes, as we say, your head is there. Your head must be in the picture. You must use logical reasoning. You must engage your spirit man. For people who are spiritual, me, I'm a Christian. I did a lot of, I fasted and I prayed. I locked myself for days and I made it. Or God allows you, man, to make a choice. God will not shout in your ear, can I marry Neka? It doesn't have to, or a pastor. And I'm very sad for people who go to sit with pastors or imams to consult. That's the height of immaturity in making a life decision, something that can impact your destiny. Just by choosing the wrong wife or choosing the wrong husband, you can cut your life by 10 years.
Yeah.
So why would I want to sit with somebody to help me make that decision? So just to come to your question, emotion, yes, emotion must play its part because we're emotional beings. But if emotion is the number one driving factor, then you are not mature enough for that decision. You need to engage your head. You need to bring those values. Sit on the table. Just like Bishop talked about SWOT analysis. I'm telling you, do it like a business case. This is your life, eh? If you make the wrong decision, you'll be, if you compare yourself to when you were in primary school, your primary school life will be better than your marriage life by making the wrong decision. So you need to sit down, involve your head, look at the core values, your core values that can never be compromised. Then you have to, I always say this question, you need to be very sure what you don't want. It's easy to know what you don't want, but what you want might not be easy. So be very clear what you don't want. Don't allow butterfly is good, but keep the butterfly for your wedding day when you have made the right decision so that you can really bask in the euphoria of making a good choice. So I'll say never allow emotion drive any life-changing decision for which marriage is, I think, is at the pinnacle of it. Subdue yourself. Learn how to control and lead yourself before you get to this journey. Look back, how have I made a decision when I chose to be a doctor, when I chose to be that's if Nigerian university didn't choose it for you though. But all the decisions you made in the past, what was the decision-making process? Did I depend on emotion? How did I do it? I can bet you if you have been making good decisions, marriage will be a little bit easier for you to do. So butterflies are good, but I can tell you, they fly away easily. Use your mind, use your head, and use your spirit. That's it.
Oh, thank you so much. I am writing so many quotes down from what you just said now. So I'm going to kind of like rehash what you just said. Something that you said that was very profound is lead yourself. So learn how to control and lead yourself. That hit me home, and I don't know if I can see in the comment sections if it's hitting the right spots with people as well, because you know it's, if you cannot lead yourself and if you don't have a good decision-making process in place in the way that you make important decisions, I totally agree that you're not going to do better when it comes to choosing a life partner. And if you depend on other people to help you make that decision or to make that decision for you, while I agree that it might be good to seek a second opinion, because in the mouth of many, counsel is established, but the decision making starts with you. But if you are depending on other people to help you make that decision, which is what a lot of, especially we ladies, or even guys, say, my guy, you call your guys out, what do you think? And, without having, even if you call your guys or you call your girls, it should be that when they tell you things, it's just affirming what you have brought out from your decision-making process, and not just them telling you what you want to hear, either good or bad. So I really love that. You said from a decision-making process, and then you also reference what Akin said about the SWOT analysis. And for those who don't know what that is, SWOT means strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat analysis. So man, that is so profound. I feel like I'm going to do it, like, yeah, seriously speaking, because that forces you to think, to treat it in a very logical manner. It helps you to break it down and treat it like, okay, I'm going into a contract with this person. In the same way, if you're going to a business contract with somebody, you want to like analyze everything, look at your opportunities, the strength of your partner, your own strength, your weaknesses and their weaknesses, the opportunity that exists, and if there are any threats. So that is very profound. Thank you so much, Kenneth, for answering that question. And then you now topped it up by saying butterflies are good, but they fly away easily. I love it. I love it. That's something for any lady that feels all that, oh my God, it's so this. Remember, the butterflies, they fly away easily. They will soon be gone. Thank you so much for that. So I want to go into the questions, Q&A questions now. Or let's see if someone on the panel, Akin Tune, Sister and Yinka, sorry. I keep saying Sister Yinka, I'm so used to saying that. Okay, if you have any comments, please. If you have any comments before we briefly, very quickly, before we go into
I don't have anything again. There's nothing else. I will have, Kenny has used the good boy way to explain it. Let me use the street boy way to explain it. Make your emotions lost when it comes to marriage. Nothing like emotions. Forget that thing. You are an official mumu. It is not because you want to be a mumu. It doesn't mean that you are not. It doesn't mean that you don't have sense. It means that a happy wife is a happy life. Trust me. But before you choose the happy wife, ensure you yourself, you have sense. Because if you don't have sense, you will marry somebody that doesn't have sense. You understand? You'll be guided by the wrong principles. So nobody send emotions for this matter. Lock the thing. It doesn't exist when it comes to marriage, because we are talking about together forever. And men will tell you that this game na die there. Forget butterfly, work, even day. when it comes to marriage, throw it away. Whatever it is, if whatever is making me breathe in your tummy, lost it, and use your head. Your head is more, then use your heart. Your heart is to control your head's harsh decisions for me.
Thank you so
I don't have anything. I'm only buttressing what my guy said.
Thank you so
I just use street man mentality.
Thank
Emotion,
you.
no
Thank
do.
you.
Lost.
Actually, I guess what everybody's trying to say is that even if the emotions exist, you can acknowledge them, but remember that they have to take a back seat when it comes to that time to make your decision. When it comes to making this decision, let them take a back seat. It's good to have those butterflies and to have those, this is the way it touches me, this is the way it makes me feel. Oh my God, when she dresses up, oh my God, this my wife is a killer. Oh, that's good, it's all good, it's all. I mean, I went for a party yesterday and my friend's husband, they've been married for like, I think 7 years now. And when she came out after making up, the guy was just like this. I caught him, looking at her with such admiration. And I was like, I love that. That is it. The butterfly is still there after 7 years. But at the point when you want to make a decision, yeah, you just remember that your emotions will not always be the same way every day. There are days you wake up and you just be like, what am I doing in this marriage? I will send me a message, or, when or I, for one, when as a single mom, some days, I'm just like, why did I do this? Why did I decide to have a child? So it's not, and there are days when I'm like, oh my God, being a mom is the best thing, when you see your daughter's cute smile and that warm hug or that, so your emotions will be like, will vary per season or per day. Keep that in mind. The things that won't change or that are very difficult to change are the value systems and your personal ambition, its personal ambition, our personal ambition. Those things are difficult to trade or to change. So I'm going to go into the comment section right now. I'm starting from the very beginning. Well, Runke, this is a personal question. Of course, I'm very interested in dating again. Yeah, so, and then, okay, so we answered if marriage is by force. Crystal, I hope you are clear on, why you need to get married. And just to reiterate, it is not a must, but I think Sister Yinka was saying that marriage is not for anybody. Kenny also said that. And even again, I'm a Christian and Jesus Christ said that as well. Marriage is not for everybody. The Bible says some people will never mature for marriage. It's clearly stated in the Bible. So don't let nobody fool you when they say you must not be married. And that doesn't mean that people who are not married are foolish or they don't have wisdom. It's just there's a level of patience and perseverance and that some people cannot attain. So doesn't mean that they will not end up being great businessmen, great rulers, great governors, great commissioners, great visionaries, doesn't mean they will not achieve so much like Mother Teresa. Doesn't mean they cannot love selflessly like Mother Teresa. But some people, marriage is not just for them. And you have to be able to speak the honest truth with yourself, regardless of what the society is saying. Good. I'm sorry, I'm trying to extract the questions, so please bear with me as I scroll down. So I'm going to read the comment as well. So Mayowa Adego said, I've heard of people who are submitted to God on one hand and are secretaries on the other hand. Secretary is a slang from Lagos that means they are just absolute hooligans. I don't know how else to put it. The mindset is to ask for forgiveness from God when they stab you. So they are like, okay, I'm a child of God, though, but we'll just misbehave and then God will forgive us. He said they are Malians. Oh my God. So yes. So I'm sorry. I know I should have been writing this down as well, but I guess I was also distracted. Okay, I don't think we have, okay, so Ronke asked, what if I want sex before marriage at Kene? Kenneth, that is to you. I think this is about sexual compatibility. Because some people will say, this market that I'm buying, I have to test it. Let me know. I cannot come and buy black markets, black night markets. Then you take it over and then it's something else. So are we testing, before marriage? So thank you.
No, I actually saw the question. It takes me back to what we've been saying. It's still your values. So me, I'm a Christian, and I had sex before marriage. I will not say I didn't have sex before marriage. It was because I didn't know better. I had not really come to the realization of God and the Christian home. So, and the doctrine that I believe strongly is that it's a no-no. So definitely it was a sin that I committed. And thank God I don't depend on man to forgive my sin. Otherwise, I would have been damned. So it still boils down to your value. If you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're an atheist, what does your doctrine say? If you don't believe in it, please follow your heart. If your heart says you should do it, fine. But it does not guarantee anything. It doesn't mean that the decision will be great. Neither does it mean the decision will not be great. So relationship it cannot be fathomed. It's difficult for anybody in this world that we're sitting in today to say that they understand relationship. I always say this. And the truth about really enjoying relationship is going back to the creator of this existence, this expression, this body that we're in. The creator understands it because he created it. And he's telling you, don't have sex before marriage. So if God is your creator and you're a Christian and you believe in him, I tell you, it's a no. And like I said, it does not guarantee anything. You can give him the biggest monkey style in this world, the snake and all those funny stuffs that we think are very pleasurable, and he will still not want to marry you. I can tell you. So sex is great, and sex is really, I think as single, when I was single too, honestly, sex was in my head, like maybe the whole, aside my work, this part of my head, the back, everything was sex, but it's not life. Life is more. There are a lot of things that will come before sex. In fact, you will see sex like this, you will run. So, as we say in the Nigerian palace. So, if you want sex before marriage and you think it's something that will help you, maybe you just want to satisfy your human craving, which ties to that emotion that we're talking about. Please go ahead. It might work for you. It might not work for you, but a larger chunk of it is that it will not guarantee anything. So go back to your value, follow it, prioritize every other thing. I can tell you, sex can be learned. If just imagine if two people don't understand sex at all, does it mean that their relationship will not make sense? Hell no. Every other thing can be learned.
Yeah.
Sex can be learned. We were not born to know. When you were a kid, you didn't know sex. So wherever you started, you see that you were progressing. When you joined your company, where you are today, you didn't have the knowledge. So the brain allows us to learn. You can learn much more than someone that has been having sex for 50 years in a few months. So single guys, single ladies, Sex is great, but I bet you sex is not everything in a relationship. Sex is really not everything. And please, as a guy, honestly, when I wanted to marry my wife, I didn't want to have sex with her because sex beclouds sound judgment. It just beclouds it. So if I'm getting to know you and I have sex, there's a gate that just shuts down my understanding you. You have given me sex, then pleasure takes over. And pleasure will delay my understanding you to find out if I really want to marry you. And at some point, if the sex is boring, bye-bye. But if that sex wasn't there, I could have understood that this lady is my lady. So I knew that all of my other relationships I was having sex, it was beclouding my judgment. If we quarrel, I'm going back to this. It's sex that is bringing us. Sex is not food. Sex is not what will take me to the next level. So sex beclouds sound judgment. So please put sex somewhere. Sex can always be learned, even if you don't know it. And you can begin to work on some of the things we've spoken. Prioritize your values. Don't rush into the relationship. Understand who you don't want. Be flexible. And just continue to work on yourself. Me, I always ask myself, can I marry me? I asked myself 10 times that question, and I knew that I cannot marry you. Just like Bishop said, I tell you, if I didn't marry 2 years ago, I would have been the biggest, in fact, the only person in my family who's divorced now, because I would have hit my wife. Of course, I had the temper issue. I always had my way. I always wanted to have my way. But I knew that I had a relationship problem because I didn't know how to be in a relationship. So I went to learn it. I trained myself. I led myself. And when I knew that, okay, Kenneth, I can marry you small, but this one, I don't like it. I told myself the truth. You have to be self-aware as well. So yes, just to cap it, if you want to have sex and you think it's all, you're not listening to what I'm saying, please have it today, but it will not help you. Thank you.
There you have it. Yeah, there you have your answers. So I really like the fact that you said that it's about your values. If your value is to be an academos, you can go ahead, but if your value, if what you want after that marriage exceed sex, and because we all know that sex drives the emotional gauge. If your emotional gauge was here before, by the time you have sex with a guy, it shoots it up, or it can bring it very low, depending on how you feel after that sex. So you really want to, I would advise to just, stay away, but if you want to, by all means, have a field one. And also, I guess the same thing goes to cohabiting before marriage. Still boils down to values. So I want to take another question. This is by Mayo idea, when this is a very important and valid question. Does value change per time? Because an encounter can change personalities completely. That is a question from Mayo Adiabo. I would want Yinka to please answer this question. Does value change per time? Because an encounter can change personality completely.
Does value change per time? Yes, of course. Really, it depends on the individual. We are strongly set in our values than each other. We are strongly set in our values than each other. I remember I had a friend, one of my group of friends in secondary school. She had very strong values, very strong. In fact, she wasn't into this yummy emotional thing. She'd be like, oh, you people. But you know what? She said when she was about to marry, she told her God, you can't forget me. She was a very academic person. And, she's married today. So she was strongly set in those things. She didn't have sex before marriage and all those things. And she got it. She's happy. So we are more strongly set in our values than each other. And of course, values change per time. I've seen people who money has changed. Money has changed. So you never really know, people's values are more strongly set than each other. And I've said it's circumstances, definitely circumstances and situations. They they of course they shape us. They shape us, and they shape our ideals. So what I always say is that, unlike before, when most of us married back then, we didn't have all this wealth of information. We didn't have all this counseling. And of course, I'm sure it's the breakdown of marriage over time that has led to this, these campaigns and these talks, even in church, everywhere about marriage, because we found out that why is the rate of divorce suddenly so high? Why has it spiked up? What I always tell the youth in church and everything I said, if you are wise for thine own self. If you are wise for yourself. You're not doing anybody a favor. You see, this marriage, this counseling, this everything people are talking about, it's for your own good. The bottom line, emotions are good. Yeah, they drive our relationships. But what we need is emotional intelligence. Emotions are good, yes. What we need, and how do you master emotional intelligence? You have to know yourself. The more you know yourself, the better you are at relationships. If a relationship comes, for example, and gives you everything you feel you need or everything you feel you lacked, the relationship will shape you, because you yourself, you're not complete yourself. You don't even know yourself. You have no values. You don't know what drives you. I don't know if you're getting me. You need to know yourself. If you know yourself, you are able to, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. The more you know yourself, the better you are at relationships. The better you are at knowing what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So it's not about the person. Going to a relationship, there has to be a you before the person. If not, then you go there and maybe sometimes you feel, oh, the person is giving you everything, the person compliments you. If it's the sex you want, the person is giving. If it's the money, if it's the loneliness, we need to know ourselves. We need to have our values. Values are what drives us to do what we do and to act the way we act. So to get into marriage is not oh, it's time to marry. I finished university. Marriage is next. It's not an agenda. Marriage is a decision. It's a decision, and you commit to that decision. So all those things it's a decision that you commit to. It's not an agenda. Okay, university, then we marry. Like the way, a lot of us, thought, that was it back then. No, it's a decision. So what we need is emotional intelligence. And so in the emotional intelligence, who are you there? The more you know yourself, the better you are. Every day we grow up, we develop, we become better people. That's the idea. Things we used to do, we were not doing. Things we were not good at, we are better at, because every day we are working on ourselves. So you need to know who you are before you even know what you want and what you don't want. You need to know who you are before you know what you can deal with, what you can't deal with. If not, you will get into a relationship and the relationship will just drive you. You will just, flow along. So it's very, very, very important that we begin to develop, we begin to know who we are. The more we know who we are, the more we know these are my values. If you don't have values, then anything goes. That's what I've realized. And so a lot of people have found themselves in relationships. Oh, okay, yeah, let's marry. Okay, I've been with you for 5-6 years. Okay, yeah, I'm used to him. I know him. I can deal with him. The devil I know is better than the angel I don't know. People do those things because they don't have values. They call themselves, they don't even know who they are. And so their relationships bringing out the worst in them. They don't even know who they are. They don't even know what they want. So it's very, very important that we know who we are.
Wow.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to read a comment by Unisa. Unisa, before I read your comment, please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. So it says, it said, a good person is a good person. Ultimately, it is important to end up with a good person. And on that note, I still want us to treat this question a little bit further. And I'm going to come to you, Bishop. If life experiences can change people, when you're married to the person, someone goes through a life experience, maybe a sickness, a terminal disease or an accident, and suddenly their values change. Now they no longer want to be a saver because they're like, oh my God, I don't care. I'm going to die soon anyways. So what's the point of saving all that money? Or certain things like that. And you are a saver, and your marriage was built on we're going to save. Doesn't make or break a relationship. Like, what do you do in those type of situation?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's something they call cycle of influence and cycle of concern. You understand? Everybody has a will, despite the fact that I'm married to someone and, situations change them. Does that mean at every situation I get to walk out on our relationship or what we started with? I don't think so. I think my job there, if I get you right, yeah, I'm supposed to be supportive. Supportive in terms of, I get to pick back on what the person does. Like maybe there's an outbreak at some point. I'm not supposed to follow through in terms of she shouts, I end up also throwing back my shouts. How does that help me? How does that solve the situation? Do I have to walk out or I have to quit? No. The ways I can influence the situation is ensure that the right things are in place. Be a supportive partner, be available when and where necessary. And at the same time, pray to God. There's a spiritual direction to things too. The change occurred because of a reason. So definitely the change occurred because of a reason. Then in the midst of all of that, find an answer to that question. Ask God to intervene and solve everything. That's my own cue. You can't do anything about that. You can only, because you're already into it, you have to look for a way to, you can't just walk out unless there's a threat to your life where you have to kill yourselves and stuff. Excluding that, it's a process you're going through that like you are being going, you are gold going through the furnace to be sharpened, to be to be more shiny and more captivating at the end of the day. So that's it for me.
So what if it's an absolute deal breaker? I mean, like, I want us to be very practical here, Kenny. If my spouse suddenly has a change in value, that is an absolute deal breaker. Let's say he just turns an alcoholic or something ridiculous that I know that I certainly cannot put up with, even though it wasn't like that. And I have made this life vow. What do I do in such case, or what do we do? What will be your advice? I know that whatever we say here is not final, but this is a forum where we advise each other. So what would be that advice?
What would be my advice is that that has become a very, very big, heavy cross that you have to muscle up and carry. That is it. So the institution of marriage doesn't in its ideal form create a way of escape for you, in quotes. So because the person has lost faith in one of the values that attracted you, something must have cost it. And that's why marriage is not a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. It's a lifelong relationship where there's building, there's just like something you said, there's a sharpening that comes from both ends. And I can tell you, the good, the bad, the ugly must happen in every relationship, no matter what. Even if it's a bishop married to a bishop, you'll find out that it's not as smooth as it should be. So in this context, where someone has become an alcoholic, the lady has to, by herself, take it as an assignment to find out how she can work on this man to come back to his normal situation. And I just want to say, provided there's no risk to life, there's no violence, as long as there's no really, you cannot, if there's a risk to life, then there might just be a window of escape. But it's always good to say the truth. And that's why marriage, you need to be extremely certain that you want it. And the journey goes like this. So when it goes down and you want to escape, then you shouldn't have gotten married because you don't have what it takes to be married. So someone has become an alcoholic. He didn't become an alcoholic overnight. Just using that as a context, eh?
Yes.
It is what marriage is. Marriage is about supporting that partner, who has become a drug addict, who has become whatever, something led to that. It might be your purpose in that individual's life to make sure that as this person doesn't die or doesn't go to hell if you're a Christian or wherever, it now becomes your burden because you have chosen and taken a vow before your creator to be one with that person. So honestly, for this situation, if the person is not molesting you, is not beating you or whatever, I can bet you have to be in that relationship and find out clever ways, humanly possible, spiritually possible, engaging family, engaging people to intervene, and you doing the right thing as well. You cannot leave that relationship. I'm sorry to say, sorry to disappoint anybody. This is my opinion, because life is this is what marriage is. Marriages will test your resolve. You might not get this bad, but marriage must test your resolve. It must say, marriage will sit down and look at you. You want marry, Abi? In quotes, let me shake those your legs. And if at every wobble you want to run away, then you shouldn't have gotten there in the first place. You will find out all those sex we're craving is not, it's not marriage is not sex. And I'm just trying to say that you must pass through storm. It must happen. It's just that the context is different for everybody. But every marriage that is alive today or that will be born tomorrow must be tested. And if you're not going to be ready to pass through that fire, because it's that fire that will also, the fire has two ends. It's either it mars or makes it.
Yeah.
So you have to be the one to say, I don't want to allow this problem to destroy me. I want to also destroy it. So for me, as long as there's no risk to your life, there's no hand beating, slapping, whatever, you have to take it. It's what you have signed up for. And please take it in good faith. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. So just to summarize what you have said is that marriage has its ups and downs. And when the down comes, you have to be able to gather that fortitude and strength to support your partner, along with using the connections that God has placed in your life to weather that down journey. And also, you also said, I lost my line of thought. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm sure I'll remember, but before then, there's a question in the chat room for you that is unanswered. And that will be our last question before we go to the last question to round this whole thing up. So Asua, I'm sorry if I didn't call that name right, but Asua asked, Sir, are you saying we can make a list based on our values to what we want and what we don't want? Because some people say we shouldn't have a list. Please clarify. So that's for you, Kenneth.
So for me, I like to say things based on my experience. So I didn't read any book for this, and I'm living the life, so I understand what I'm saying. And honestly, it's my opinion. You don't have to take it. There's no rule about marriage. There's no hard and fast rule. When I mentioned the list, it's not. It was just it's something that will happen in your head. You don't have to write anything on any paper. It happens in your head. So I'm somebody that understands the power of the mind. Honestly, I can talk about the mind from now to tomorrow. There needs to be a picture of that man that you want or woman that you want. And to get to that picture, you have to eliminate things. So you use values to eliminate some people. You use some of the things you don't want. You will know what you don't want. You understand that this individual, either he's too short, so it's easy. You can eliminate this person. I don't know if you get. So everything is happening in your head. You're using your core values. Honestly, core values works for everybody. You need to have your value. And your value is not my value. Definitely, if we start writing our values, you'll find out that a lot of people here don't really have the same values. Not that they are bad values, but people are thinking a different life because we are individuals. We have our own essence. So when I mentioned the list, I didn't mean paper and pen. It's in your mind. It's in your mind. And why I said that is that it helps you eliminate, because 10 guys might be really interested in you, and these 10 guys are great guys. So when you use values, when you know exactly what you don't want, it will help you cut people out. You would have eliminated people so that you don't tolerate whatever interest they're bringing. Then it will be easier for you to now use your decision-making process that you have been used to using for previous choices that you've made to select the better person. So the list that I spoke of is a list that is in your mind. So the mind is not actually in the brain, but in your mind. So, and trust me, there's an avalanche of information, books, and by people that don't really even know what marriage is. I'll tell you the truth. So what I would advise you, please learn about relationship, normal relationship, how to handle relationship with normal people, not just marriage, because that is the foundation to succeed in marriage. Learn how to lead yourself. Be self-aware. Control your emotions. Lead yourself. Someone just annoyed you now. Don't be angry. Try and train yourself. So all of those things you will learn by just being friends with normal people. It will help you with your relationship and eventually your marriage. So please, the list is not paper and pen. And honestly, so many people have said so many things. I will advise you, learn for yourself. You will find that in your own self, you can make a decision for yourself. There are some truths in all of what people are saying, and it boils down to the right value for people. For me, I always advise, if I know any girl, I'll tell her, please marry a man that fears God. He might be doing the wrong things, but let there be consciousness of the fear of God. It underpins a lot for that man, because he can really reset him almost immediately when he's going in the wrong path. He might not be a Christian sitting in front of the church or sweeping the church, but let him know that what I just did is so wrong. It's so wrong, because that will help him. So please read, listen to people, learn about relationship, remove some of the ones that don't make sense to you, and just form your own thought leadership that will help you make your own decision. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for that. We are almost out of time. So before we go, I'm just gonna ask for 5 more minutes of our time, and then we'll close. But before we go, while I take, please feel free to drop your comments in the chat room. I'm going to read some of the comments in the chat room. While I take your final thoughts, I'm also going to ask one last question. So the way it's going to work is you answer that question and give us your final thoughts very quickly. But I guess in all of this, what we are trying to say is that be logical and ask those questions. And I love that Kenneth mentioned in the beginning that there's a way you can ask the questions without asking the questions, which is through observation. Some you would ask direct asks, most you will observe, because people can say what you want to hear. And I had a question on my notes, but I guess that answers where the thin line between investigating someone because you're trying to understand and discover them and prying. So when you are not constantly in their business, asking so many 1 million questions, then you can do it with wisdom. So that eliminates that prying process. So the last question is, how do you know that this person that you have done all the SWOT and all of that, you compare their values and their values and all of that, how do you know that they are the one? And that brings me to that day one, that concept of day one. How do you know that they are the one? So I will go in this order: Bishop, Yinka, and Kenen wraps it up for us for the day. So thank you. Very briefly, please. Thank you. Bishop, Yinka, and Kenen.
The concept of the one is still subjective in a way, but the principles never change. Nobody, I don't think you should marry to someone who doesn't have a good record of commitment. I don't think you should marry someone who is not a team player, who is not supportive, someone who cannot have a good communication with, someone that just shuts you out. You can't come home in peace, and you should be running to come home at any time. Someone who takes pride in looking good and feeling good about herself to the point that it rubs off on you as a guy. Then yes, the key thing, it might seem crazy, but someone who listens. The word there is submission, but the submission is not the submission of, okay, yeah, I'm the man of the house. Someone who takes heed of what you bring to the table. These are not rules. There is no hard and fast rule, but for me, I value these points because when you're committed, do or die, we are both in this. Commitment on both sides makes things work for me. Team play, and the little things are the things that count. Don't look away from them. Don't negate those little things if you spot a little lack of supportive nature, bring it out, question it. If you spot some issues with commitment, not even to you directly, to people question it. Take pride in someone who is orderly, someone who is clean, someone who is sweet, Then submission. Submission is someone who takes pride in listening to an authority in its way. So for me, those are the 4 key things I take pride in. But I don't believe there's anything called the one. That's my own understanding.
Thank you. Yinka, over to you.
Well, the one, I'm just saying, to summarize, let's assume you're writing a paper and you want to write in your final analysis. You've done all the SWOT, you've done all the security checks. I'm assuming you've cotted enough, you've done your prayers. Everybody has that sixth sense. We have that inner feeling, we have that gut feeling. We have the spiritual part of us talking. If they lined up that person with 5 other guys or girls that you'd like and had kind of values you want, would you choose the person over again? Or if you had to go to a journey of no man's land and you had to choose one person, would you take that person with you? Those kind of questions, it's still a gut feeling. There's never really any one person. It's just that person who at that point in time in our life, we have shared certain things with and we believe for the rest of our life, they can journey with us. We're on the same pace. And you trust that even the questions that are yet unanswered can be worked out together. It's a gut feeling. There's no hard and fast rule about marriage. And, it's all, at the end of the day, it's all a case-by-case basis. These principles are to guide us. There are never any set principles. They're just supposed to guide us around it. At the end of the day, you are the one who is in it. You are the one who sees what other people don't see. You are the one who feels what other people don't feel. You are the one who is confused about. So, you just be guided by like Kenneth said, they are just, everything people say is just the guide. You are the one who is there. You have your voice of reasoning, you have your voice of wisdom, and like he said, which is, I think it's a good thing to have, to be connected to God, because at the end of the day, you're never going to know everything. If you like caught for 20 years, you are never going to know everything. There are still some things you have to get to marriage to find, and that's the question: are you ready to take that journey with that person? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Kenny. Please wrap this all up for us.
So quickly, just like Yinka said, when you've done all of everything and you've come to the decision making, I think once there's a sense of calm, there's a sense of peace, and genuinely you're happy. It's from your bosom. You will know that this is not emotion, this is not butterfly, because honestly, we are spiritual beings. And honestly, there's no perfect person. And the concept of the one, I always used to think that there was only one person in the whole world until my eyes opened. On virtually every street, there's the one. There are a good number of ladies, I'm telling you. Because sometimes your marriage might be set up in a way that you need to develop a gap that you have by being with somebody. So when you've come to that decision, I can tell you have peace. And I'll give you an example. I know we're supposed to use our own example and I'll wrap up. When I chose my wife, then I have allergy issues. So when I wake up in the morning, I had this rug. Took me a long time to know it was the rug that was causing my nose. So I wake up tired. When I made my decision, I'll wake up so happy, like I got a job. I'll wake up, I'll sit down on the edge of my bed. Why am I happy? It happened for 2 weeks. I had this peace. Nobody told me about it. I was feeling it, and it was a new feeling. I knew that I made the right decision. So, do you have peace? Do you have calm? Are you happy when you have made that decision? It's not butterfly. You will know that it's different from butterfly. I can tell you for sure, based on my experience, and I think as human, it might happen to some of the people that made the right choice. I'll close by saying, in every way, every day, make sure that you're getting better and better at relationship. So much so that somebody will be happy to marry you. And I guess things will work out for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I just posted a verse in the Bible for if you're a Christian. I think that's Colossians 3, verse 15. And even if you're not a Christian, it's good to learn from the holy books anyways. So I'm just going to summarize this whole thing by quickly reading the points that we've talked about. Marriage is for companion, for purpose, and for preservation of heritage. So remember, companion, purpose, and preservation of heritage. Bishop talked about not marrying somebody who is committed, who is informed and supportive. And we started the conversation of values. What are your values? Ensure you know what your values are. Identify what your deal breakers are. Your values will determine what you're looking out for. There is no hard and fast rule to this is what I'm looking for, this is what you should look for in a partner, but it should depend on what is your own value. And you ask some questions from observation and from asking directly. Don't jump into marriage. You still need to communicate. Communication is a lifelong thing, and so is compatibility. Be ready to compromise on certain things. And to be successful in marriage, you have to die like a seed. I guess that's where the compromise comes in. And sex is great, but it takes a different priority after marriage. I remember that people can tell you what you want to hear. When you meet someone, a guy or a lady, she can tell you what you want to hear, especially if there are people with high intelligence, high IQ. If I married and someone who is very controlling and is extremely intelligent, is a 4.0 GPA student. So A's all through every single course in college. So these are people who study people and they will tell you exactly what you want to hear. So Yinka said, love holds a marriage. And knowing your values, the underlying reason for most marriage breaks it or makes it. Marriage is management, and you guys have to be in agreement. Kennedy said, lead yourself, learn how to control and lead yourself. Form a good decision-making process. Remember, butterflies are good, but they fly away easily. Bishop spoke about SWOT analysis. Treat it very logical. Let your emotions take the backseat when it comes to making that decision of I do. Treat it like a contract, because truly marriage is a contract. It's legally binding. And then there has to be a you. Yinka said there has to be a you before you go into marriage. Understand you first, because when when your partner goes through changes, I think that's when we're talking about values changing, people changing, you remain constant and you can help your partner come back to where they are. Eunice, and I really like Eunice's comment, he said, a good person is always a good person. So even if the person's personality, even because maybe a life situation happened and they change, that person that you married is still there. And we need emotional intelligence, get better, work on yourself, get better. Kenneth said there needs to be a picture, that you have to have pictured what you want. If you don't know what you want, then, how do you decide? You have to have that picture. And because there has to be, and that picture, that mental picture of what you want, not necessarily a list on paper. There has to be this 5 million in accounts, 20, something like that. But that mental picture helps you to eliminate and validate. And you need to know what your core values, you need to have core values. If you don't have core values, you don't understand what core values are. Maybe the first step now, after this meeting, is to start defining what your core values are. Yes, so I think that is like a very quick summary of what we spoke about today. We're so sorry we're over time, but I believe that this is time well spent today. I want to say a very big thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much for staying all the way to this time. And we have a very brief announcement before we go. If you are on the call and you want to be part of our community, I'm posting a link in the chat room right now for you to please join us. You're welcome to be part of our community. It is a community, all the panelists are part of this community. I'm also part of that community. Most of us are part of that community. We welcome you with open hands. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to thank everybody. It's been a wonderful time. Mayowa, I see you in the comments room, even though you haven't said anything. Thank you so much. Jennifer, Andre, Tobe, Christelle, Mokunfayo. Imagine I'm a Yoruba girl. Imagine Mokunfayo, Emmanuel, John, Aswar, Miriam, and Ronke, our convener. God bless you. Thank you so much. Kene, Yinka, and Akin, thank you for your wealth of wisdom. God bless you guys. And until another time, stay blessed, use wisely, be logical. Butterflies, they fly away. That's my favorite quote from this meeting. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good one. God bless.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.